AJ Styles in TNA was built different. Before he became WWE champion, before he dominated New Japan as the leader of Bullet Club, before he was the face that runs the place, AJ Styles made TNA his personal playground. He was untouchable in the X division. He had a classic tag team run with Daniels. He was going toe-to-toe with legends like Kur Angle, Samoa Joe, and Sting. And for almost a decade, AJ Styles was the heart and soul of total non-stop action. He evolved from a high-flying X division sensation into TNA's hand-picked face of the company. He survived roster changes, management shakeups, and countless challengers who tried to knock him off his throne. But how good was AJ actually during his prime years in TNA? How does his run compare to other legends like Angle, Joe, and Christian Cage? What were the classic matches, storylines, and championship reigns that made him the phenomenal one? Let's dive deep into the archives and break down just how good AJ Styles was in TNA. Our story begins in 2005. Till this point, Styles had already won the X Division title multiple times. He had even captured the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and fans knew he was something special. But the run Styles had from 2005 to 2006 was about to cement his legacy as one of the greatest X Division wrestlers of all time. In 2005, TNA was still finding its identity. They were struggling to compete with WWE's machine, but they had something unique: the X Division. Fast-paced, high-flying, innovative wrestling that you couldn't find anywhere else. And AJ Styles was the undisputed king of that division. January 2005 kicked off with Styles winning his fourth X Division championship in an Ultimate X match at Final Resolution, defeating Chris Sabin and Petey Williams. But then came Christopher Daniels, and suddenly we had magic. Their first encounter was on Impact in January, and when Styles couldn't beat Daniels in 10 minutes, TNA did something brilliant. They booked a 30-minute Iron Man match at Against All Odds. 30 minutes of pure wrestling between two of the best performers on the planet. Styles won after they went to sudden death, but more importantly, these two had natural chemistry that would elevate both their careers. The feud continued at Destination X in March, where Styles lost the title to Daniels in an Ultimate X challenge, but Styles bounced back from the loss and used it as fuel. He entered the 2005 Super X Cup tournament. Styles dominated the early rounds, beating Matt Bentley and Petey Williams, but lost to Samoa Joe in the finals at Sacrifice. However, because Daniels interfered in that match, TNA added Styles to the title bout and made it a triple threat match. What happened next at Unbreakable was pure cinema. The three-way match between Styles, Joe, and Daniels at Unbreakable is still talked about today as one of the greatest matches in TNA history. These three went all out for over 20 minutes, showcasing everything that made TNA's X Division special. When Styles walked out as the 5-time X Division champion, it felt like destiny. His title defenses that fall were incredible. A second 30-minute Iron Man match against Daniels at Bound for Glory that Styles won, successful defenses against Petey Williams, and a brewing feud with Joe that had real heat. When Styles finally lost the title to Joe at Turning Point in December, it felt like the end of an era. But that loss led to the next chapter in AJ's career. Styles and Daniels put their differences aside to chase tag team gold. After losing to America's Most Wanted twice, they finally captured the NWA World Tag Team Championship at Slammiversary in June 2006. The two former enemies had become the most popular team in the company, but partnerships in wrestling are always temporary, and their battles with LAX over the tag titles throughout 2006 showed just how far Styles had come as a complete performer. He wasn't just the high-flying X Division guy anymore, he was evolving into something bigger. Styles was about to enter the next phase of his career, and the story of AJ Styles was about to take a very dark turn. By late 2006, cracks were showing in the Styles-Daniels partnership. After losing and regaining the tag titles from LAX multiple times, something changed in AJ. When he won his 6th X Division championship in November, beating Chris Sabin, everything seemed normal. But then Daniels cost him that title just 2 weeks later in a 3-way match, and AJ snapped. The man who had been TNA's golden boy, the fan favorite who could do no wrong, suddenly blamed Daniels for everything. When Daniels tried to help him against Christian Cage at Genesis, AJ saw it as interference, not assistance. AJ didn't want help. He wanted respect, and he was tired of everyone treating him like he needed saving. A couple of weeks later, Styles turned heel, and honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened to his career. Till now, AJ was known as a good wrestler. He was the guy who could do flips, get the crowd hyped, and send them home happy. But so far, AJ's run in TNA was pretty one-dimensional. He was great in the ring, but he was yet to show different sides of his character. The heel turn gave him the perfect opportunity to do so. It led to a bitter feud with Rhino, who kept trying to play peacemaker between AJ and Daniels. He beat Rhino at Turning Point in December 2006. 2006, even teamed with Samoa Joe to defeat Rhino and Kurt Angle on Impact. But Rhino got his revenge in two brutal encounters, a last man standing match at Final Resolution and an Elevation X match at Destination X. By 2007, AJ was lost. The heel turn hadn't made him the top guy he thought he deserved to be, so he started jumping from alliance to alliance, desperately searching for his place in TNA's hierarchy. First came Christian Cage's coalition at Lockdown in April, Team Cage versus Team Angle in one of TNA's signature steel cage warfare matches. They lost, but AJ caught the attention of Tomko. These two formed a partnership that would prove to be the next chapter in AJ's story. They faced Sting and Abyss, won a 10-tag team gauntlet match, and captured the TNA World Tag Team Championship by beating Team Pac-Man at Bound for Glory. The duo successfully defended their titles against LAX and the Steiner brothers and cemented themselves as a legit tag team. But this chapter didn't last long. When AJ and Tomko accidentally cost Christian Cage his world title match against Kurt Angle at Genesis, AJ faced an impossible choice. He could stick with Cage, the man who had given him a chance, or he could join Kurt Angle's alliance, which clearly had more power. AJ chose Team Angle at Final Resolution in January 2008, and that decision led to the weirdest storyline of his entire TNA career. In 2008, AJ Styles accidentally married Karen Angle. Yeah, you heard that right. AJ Styles accidentally married Kurt Angle's wife. The storyline was bonkers, but it gave AJ something he'd never had before: real mainstream attention. It allowed AJ to show more layers of his character. Everyone was talking about whether AJ and Karen were having an affair. Kurt was paranoid, Karen was playing innocent, and AJ was caught in the middle. The whole thing exploded when AJ and Tomko lost the tag titles to Kaz and Super Eric in April. Kurt's accusations got more intense, the locker room took sides, and AJ finally had enough. He quit the Angle alliance, which immediately made Tomko turn on him. His own tag team partner cost him a King of the Mountain qualifying match, and just like that, AJ was alone again. But being alone brought out the best in AJ. His matches against Kurt throughout 2008 were phenomenal. He beat Angle at Slammiversary, survived a last man standing match at Hard Justice, and even won Kurt's Olympic gold medal on Impact. These matches against Angle were personal wars that showcased AJ's incredible storytelling ability, along with his phenomenal athleticism that had the entire wrestling world talking about Styles. By late 2008, AJ had proven he could hang with main event legends, he could carry complex storylines, and adapt to any role TNA needed him to fill. He'd evolved from the happy-go-lucky X-Division star into a complete performer. But the biggest test of his career was about to begin, and it would involve some very unwelcome visitors to TNA. Booker T, Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Sting, and eventually Scott Steiner formed the Main Event Mafia in late 2008, and their message was crystal clear. Young guys like AJ Styles didn't deserve to be in the main event. They were taking over TNA, and there wasn't a damn thing the younger roster could do about it. But Styles wasn't going to go down without a fight. At Bound for Glory in October, AJ faced Christian Cage and Booker T in a three-way match that Booker won. It was a statement victory for the Mafia, and suddenly TNA felt divided. The old guard versus the new generation, and the lines were drawn in the sand. That's when AJ formed an alliance that changed the trajectory of his career. He teamed up with Samoa Joe to form the Frontline. The Frontline was everything TNA represented at its core: AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and other rising stars fighting against wrestling legends who thought they could waltz into TNA and take over. The storylines felt real because in many ways they were. TNA was struggling to balance using big-name talent with developing their homegrown stars. The power struggle between the young generation and the established stars was real, and AJ was in the center of this story. He got his shot at Sting for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Turning Point in November 2008, but came up short. He got another chance in an 8-man tag at Final Resolution, but again, the Mafia proved too strong. It seemed like the old guys really were going to keep the young talent down. On the January 22nd episode of Impact in 2009, Angle vowed to end AJ's career and conducted a brutal beatdown that left AJ injured and written off television. But Styles wasn't going to stay down. When he returned at Against All Odds in February, he didn't come back quietly. He attacked Booker T and stole his TNA Legends Championship, making a statement that the Frontline wasn't dead. At Destination X in March, AJ defeated Booker T to become the Legends Champion, making him TNA's first Grand Slam champion. The war with the Mafia continued throughout 2009, with AJ proving he belonged at the top level. But the real turning point came when Samoa Joe shocked everyone by turning on the Frontline and helping Kurt Angle win the King of the Mountain match at Slammiversary. AJ's own ally had betrayed him, and just like that, AJ was alone once again. But sometimes being alone forces you to dig deeper than you ever thought possible. possible. After losing the Legends Championship to Kevin Nash and failing to qualify for the world title match against Matt Morgan, AJ's career seemed to be spiraling. He was considering retirement, beaten down by months of warfare and betrayal. That's when Sting showed up as the difference maker in AJ's story. The Icon, the man who had been involved in wars as a part of the Mafia against AJ for over a year, told him he had chosen AJ to carry the torch after him. Sting saw something in AJ that even AJ didn't see in himself. He pursued AJ to try one more time. He convinced AJ to not quit wrestling, and at No Surrender in 2009, the torch was passed to the next generation. At No Surrender on September 20th, 2009, AJ Styles faced Matt Morgan, Sting, Hernandez, and defending champion Kurt Angle in a five-way match for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. In the closing moments, Sting sacrificed his opportunity to win the match and opened the door for AJ to score the win and become the face of TNA. When his hand was raised, it wasn't just a championship victory. It was the culmination of everything he'd worked for since 2002. His title defense against Sting at Bound for Glory was the cherry on top. AJ defeated the Icon, ending Sting's undefeated streak at TNA's biggest pay-per-view, proving once and for all that he wasn't just the future of TNA. He was the present. AJ Styles had officially arrived as a main event star, and TNA finally had their homegrown world champion. After this, Styles would go on to align with Ric Flair, he would have that emo lone wolf phase in 2013, and eventually he would leave TNA to become the leader of Bullet Club in New Japan, and later join WWE to become a global star that everybody recognizes today. Today, AJ Styles is a living legend. He is a multiple-time WWE champion, he's a household name, and arguably one of the greatest wrestlers of the modern era. He's competed at WrestleMania, shared the ring with names like John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and proven that an indie darling can become the face of the biggest wrestling company in the world. But his incredible 5-year run in TNA from 2005 to 2010 was what set the foundation for the phenomenal career that followed. Those years taught him how to work as both a face and a heel, how to carry complex storylines, and how to evolve from a high-flying sensation into a complete main event performer. This is what made his appearance at Slammiversary 2025 so emotional for longtime fans. He might be known as the Georgia Pitbull, the face that runs the place, or the former leader of Bullet Club, but for me personally, AJ Styles will always be known as the man who put total non-stop action on the map. From those early X Division classics to his emotional World Championship victory at No Surrender, AJ gave TNA legitimacy when they needed it most. He proved that homegrown talent could be just as compelling as established stars, and that great wrestling could happen in a six-sided ring in Orlando just as well as anywhere else. Because when it was all said and done, AJ Styles in TNA was simply phenomenal.